there's a few things that would make our RV lifestyle a little more enjoyable that we still don't have.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking and put a lot of research before we got the RV into what kind of accessories and things we thought we were going to need or want, and we just didn't get everything right away.
Yeah, and much of that was by design. We didn't want to get, for example, caught up in a campground membership where we would have to travel only where those campgrounds happen to be. We didn't want to regiment our journeys that way. So, and we still don't, but we might in the future. So it's not that those things are bad, it's just maybe not in the cards for us. So we wanted to make sure that we took our time and went a little bit easy on some of the spending and everything. But that brings up a very important point. If you're going to, if there's things that you really know that you would enjoy or want to have in your RV or for your RV lifestyle, you might want to make sure that you budget for those things, because chances are if they're big things to you, you're going to circle back around and want those later. So I would say that I am very happy that we took it slow and didn't jump into certain things for the RV, but at the same time I think that we should have maybe budgeted a little bit better to make sure that when we circled back around it'd be a little bit easier to get.
Yeah, so we're going to share 3 of the things that we didn't get initially that we're now reconsidering and wishing that we had and are going to put back on our wish list.
Solar is one of those things that we would like to have now that we didn't get initially. And part of the reason for not getting it initially was that we weren't quite sure if solar would work where we were going to be most of the time, because we considered that we would be in the forest a lot under a heavy canopy. So solar is not really designed for that type of location. But we have found in our travels, at least in between places, we definitely have an open sky quite a lot, especially in the west, the travels we've been doing.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have used it a whole lot, but I don't know if it's because we haven't boondocked a lot because we didn't have the solar, and maybe if we had the solar we would be more inclined to do that. We did have used a generator, but I really don't like generators. They're noisy, they bother you, they bother your neighbors, you have to have gas.
Yeah, the fuel, carrying the fuel around for me was one of the bigger things. There's ways to hook them to propane and stuff like that, but they really are kind of a nuisance to me, and it's not a set it and forget it type of thing. It can go off, you know, when it runs out of fuel, and there are ways to attach larger tanks and all these things. There's always a way around things, but for us, the generators are great for emergency, but I really don't like relying on them. However, the thing with the solar is that we definitely, when it comes to boondocking, I think we'd rather do what we consider more of what we mean by boondocking. Boondocking to us means being out in the boondocks.
Yeah.
It doesn't, dry camping is all this other type of thing that we see people doing in parking lots and off side streets in towns and things like that. But so out in the boondocks to us, we'd rather be in a forest, in a wilderness out in the boondocks than out in dirt and rocks out in the middle of the desert. So where solar would shine really well, do quite well under those circumstances.
And another issue that for me was a kind of a stumbling block with the solar is that it was very intimidating to me. I don't really understand all the inverters and converters and the batteries and how that all works, so it kind of put me off for that because it seemed really complicated. But the more I learn about it, the more I think maybe it's really not too bad.
Yeah, and you can see that we're still a little tentative about it, and it's mostly because of our, I guess, our habits and our lifestyle and our intentions. However, I do think it's a really good thing. Certainly for some people that like going out in the middle of the desert, it's a great fit there because you're not going to plug into a rock. So,
for sure.
You know, to have that out there is really good. But I think we want to definitely get some solar going and go from there. But we put it off for good reason. But now we're circling back around, and it looks like it might be a good thing to do.
Yeah. So another thing that we don't have that we did have is bikes. We just didn't know how much we would use bikes, and the bikes that we had were big and heavy and bulky.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference. I didn't want to throw bikes in the back of the pickup, and I don't like the bike rack on our ladder on the back of the RV. The type of back end that we have on the RV, we really don't have that type of bumper system.
Right.
We'd have to put an additional thing in, but we really enjoyed riding our bikes a lot, and that was probably one of the harder things for me to get rid of, was my bike. We enjoy it. We like rail trails and just riding in general, and they really give good utility at campgrounds and parks for getting around, and they're just very enjoyable. And
yeah, and now that they have these great folding bikes that take up so little space, and they're lightweight, and they're really, we've tried them a couple times, and they're really quite comfortable, and I really think that that's something that we would get some use out of now and really enjoy.
Yeah, I was a little bit not quite sold on the folding bike thing. They've been around for quite a few years, but I have noticed that there are people who actually tour on them that will ride across country, things like that. So I guess it comes down to the wheelbase, you know, that since it does have a full wheelbase on some of these, that it can be quite comfortable to ride. So we're looking at those. They can weigh as little as like 20-25 pounds, and they fold up, and they put them right in a bag and throw them in a compartment. So they're very handy in that sense. So we're definitely on these, circling back around on this too, and we think that could end up working out quite well for us.
Yeah, I think it would.
In our house, we really liked our big comfortable recliners.
Yeah, and when we were looking at RVs, seems like you can never find an RV that has all of the things that you want, and so you end up getting the one that has most of the things you want.
Right.
And one of the things that we did want that we had to put aside was the separate recliners, and we ended up with the leather theater seating, and they do recline, but they're just really not comfortable. They're not big enough. Bernie's tall, so it's really not tall enough for him, and they're leather, which I don't like. It's hot in the summer and sticky, and cold in the winter, and the dog scratches it, and we would just really like to find some nice cloth comfortable recliners.
Yeah, I like the idea of them being separate, still close, you know, but the fact that they're separate, that makes it a little bit easier when somebody reclines in one of the ones in the theater seating like we have now. It jolts the other person, you know, so it would be nice for them to be separate and maybe a little bit more comfortable, and cloth instead of the leather for our particular needs. But it's definitely something that I miss a great deal.
Yeah, and we didn't know at the time how much we were going to wish that we had that, because like I said, it's something that we put off because the RV that we got had the majority of the things that we wanted, and I mistakenly thought, you know, when we went to purchase it, that the dealership would probably just switch the furniture and put whatever furniture in it you want. And unfortunately that's not the case. I mean, maybe if you special ordered your unit or something, you could request the type of furniture, but if you're buying from a lot, it's pretty much what is in it is what you're going to get, the colors, everything. So
we definitely would switch out the recliners in a heartbeat. So that's on our agenda.
That's high on my list.
Yeah, for sure. So when you get into RVing, you might want to go a little bit slow and just kind of take your time and feel things out to make sure that the things that you're buying that you're really going to use. But then at the same time, if there's things that you feel really strongly about, like maybe bike riding like we do, you might want to set a little bit aside to make sure that when you circle back around to wanting those things, that you've got them budgeted in.
Yeah, we're definitely going to work these 3 things back into our budget. So please remember to comment, share, and subscribe.
Thanks for watching.